Welcome to Williams Real Estate Company YouTube channel, episode number 1. So to kick it off, I thought I'd just start with my story. My name's Geordie Williams. I'm your host today, and we're going to take it back to tell you my story of how I've got from scratch to 11 property portfolio across New South Wales and Queensland. So to start it off, my passion for property started early stages back at school, listening to my parents talk about their property experiences and how they made money through property, which was a pretty traditional method of investing in property, which included buying a house or residence, renovating the property, living in it for a few years, and then selling it when the market moved, and then rolled that money into the next place of residence. So I remember specifically my father saying he wished he bought investment properties and specifically in Redfern back in the 80s, when you could have picked up townhouses for 80, 100 grand, where these days those same townhouses are going for the 4 to 5 million mark. So that's what, I guess, sparked off my interest in property, probably talking around the age of 12 to 13, 14. And when I was at school, my plan was to, when I left school, to buy land, build houses, and sell those houses as a profit. That was my strategy originally. That's what my thought base was. So anyway, fast forward to when I was at university. I was studying construction management and property at University of New South Wales. I thought it was time to see what the bank would lend me. So during my lunch break, I walked down to the local Commonwealth Bank branch in Randwick, and they gave me pre-approval for about 400,000. And at the time, I was fixated on buying a house, and this was 2016, and 400,000 in Sydney wouldn't get you very far. So off I went up to the Hunter Valley to check out some different areas. Went all through Cessnock, Maitland area, and eventually came across a place that I liked and negotiated the price on to purchase, which was a 4-bedroom house, 1 bathroom, 1 laundry, and 1 garage on a corner block. Bought it for 240,000. At the time, this house was unlivable. It had someone living in it, but it needed significant renovation. So myself and my wife, girlfriend at the time, but wife now, we ripped out the bathroom, kitchen, replaced both ourselves, paint, carpet all through the house, new gutters, some of the even the roofing needed replacing. Got it to the stage of that was quite schmick, and my strategy was to flip it, similar to what my parents did, and roll that into the next one so I could eventually buy a house in Sydney. But when I put the house on the market, it was during the 2018 credit crunch from APRA. The market started to cool, and there was a lot of negative media out there talking down the property market, and it was a significant downturn, peak to trough probably around 10 or 15%. And this was right smack bang when I went to list the property on the market, staged the property, had the real estate agent do a video, really put a lot of effort into marketing it. So numbers, I was 240 purchase price. I was in it for about 300,000 after all costs, including renovation, tax, everything that if I sold it, it would have cost me 300,000. And I had on the market for 400. After a couple of weekend inspections, a few people coming through, no offers. Month went by and no one was then turning up to the inspections. So I dropped the price, 380, kept dropping the price to 360, 350, to the point where I had an offer for 340,000, and we exchanged contracts to sell, and he then did the pest and building inspection of the property. And because I renovated myself, I did all the waterproofing myself, and they requested a certificate for the waterproofing, which I didn't have. So then he pulled out of the contract. And then at that stage, I decided that, look, I'm not just going to give it away. The agent was still trying to push to, sell. But I decided that, I put a year's worth of effort into this place. I wasn't at the stage of just going to give it away. So the agent said, well, why don't you take it off the market, rent it out, and wait for the market to come back, and then we can list it towards the end of the year or next year, once the market starts to turn, and we sell it into a rising market. I thought, great, that's a fantastic idea. So I took it off the market, rented it out. At the time, the property rented out for $380 a week. And after a few months, I came to the realization that it was actually making money. It was costing me about $300 a week to hold, with a $220,000 mortgage, plus rates, upkeep, property management fees, insurance. So I was making a $70, $80 a week profit. And I thought, this is fantastic. It's paying for the property plus paying me a small profit. And that was on principal and interest mortgage as well. So 6 months goes by and the bank rings up and says, just checking in with this home loan that you applied for, because it was a home loan, wasn't an investment loan, and explained the story to them and said, look, yeah, I'm now still living in Sydney and the property is now rented out. And they said, okay, well, we're going to have to convert that home loan to an investment loan. We have to charge an extra 1%. And I thought, oh, that's a bit average. But they said, oh, rest assured, we'll lend you another 50 or 60,000, because we see that the effort that you put into the property, you've raised the value of it, and our calculation is now it's worth 400,000. And I thought, oh, fantastic, but what for? And they said, oh, well, you might want to go on a holiday, buy a boat, buy a car, whatever. And I thought, oh, no thanks, not at this time. Anyway, a couple of weeks go by and I thought to myself, gee, could I use that money as a deposit for a second house? So I ring the bank up and asked them, and they said, yes, you can do whatever you want with it. So I said, I ordered the valuation, ordered the refinance of the property, and they debited into my account about 2 weeks later the 50,000 extra, and added that extra loan to topped up the loan for that place in Maitland. And then I was off away shopping again. So at that stage, I had a penny drop moment that flipping houses wasn't for me, and my strategy changed forever. And to this day, this is 7-8 years ago now, 6 or 7 years ago, and I still have this property today. Thank God that the market turned for the best, because my strategy has now changed to a buy and hold strategy, and I look to buy and hold positive geared properties that have the rental income that covers all expenses. And then eventually the goal is to live off the surplus cash flow from those rental income. So I then studied a lot about investing, read every book about property investment, studied markets of why markets fluctuate and go up and down, and cycles, and continued on my way. So we went from Maitland and then bought another regional house in New South Wales. This time round I learnt my lesson, and I wasn't going to buy a completely shot house that needed complete renovation. I wanted to just buy something that was tenant ready, that was clean. Doesn't necessarily need to be something sexy and flash, but as long as it's clean and tidy and you can rent it out, and doesn't need a renovation straight away. It might need one 10 or 15 years down the track, but not straight away. Because I still want to try and make sure that you have the highest strong cash flow. The yield needs to be there, so the rent needs to be covering all expenses, so they just tick away. So off we went to another regional town and bought another house, and rinsed and repeat. Went back to the bank 2 or 3 months later, refinanced, borrowed more money against the property, and then bought a townhouse up in Brisbane. And then when I was on my third property, I thought, gee, I'm onto something here. I think now I need to make sure that I can continue to recycle the equity. So I need to buy the properties under market value, under rebuild costs, but also under what the bank values it at. So before I buy any property now these days, is I order the valuation, which is the same valuation that the bank provides for people to go to auction and say this is the limit that you can bid up to, because we're not going to lend you any more than that. But I use that same report to buy considerably less than that, so they're built-in equity from day one. So when I purchase the property, I can then refinance within 2 or 3 months, pull my deposit money back out, recycle, and just continue to build a portfolio out. So we went from, third property was in Brisbane, a townhouse, and then bought a second, my fourth was in another townhouse in Brisbane, which were good cash flow deals, very low purchase price. So one was 152, the other one was 165. They both renting strong in the 250, 260. So covered all costs plus good strong cash flow, which are now, they're both renting for the 300 a week to 350 a week mark. I then rolled that into another regional house in New South Wales, and then into another regional house for my sixth in Queensland, regional Queensland. And then I came back down to New South Wales and bought another regional house in New South Wales. And then I then rolled a couple of the properties. I had to top up maybe 2 or 3 of the loans against the properties to buy a duplex, which was a block of flats on one title, driveway, unit 1, unit 2. So it was two rental incomes, 2 separate tenancies on one title. So very strong cash flow. They're harder to buy. You need to get in with at least 20 or 30% deposit. That's why I had to mortgage a couple of the properties to get into it. But we got into it, and that's a beautiful property now that rents very strong cash flow. That's in Upper Hunter region in New South Wales. Then rolled again into another regional, this was a west of Brisbane house. And then finally to date, I've got I bought another Queensland house. So good spread, 7 houses, 2 townhouses and a duplex. Plan is moving forward is to add value to the portfolio by way of renovation. So I've got two units to renovate. So by stripping out the bathroom, kitchen, new flooring, paint, spending 20 or 30 grand on a unit can boost the rent by 80, 100 bucks a week. So I've got 2 units to do because they're coming to the end of their life in terms of the kitchens and bathrooms only usually last 30 years, so they're quite dated, so they're going to get a good go. I got 3 houses that in the pipeline to build secondary dwellings or granny flats. So not subdivide, but keep the same title, single title, but build a secondary dwelling in the back yard and build a colorbond fence to cut it off. So the benefit of this is you still have the same rates for the property, because you're not splitting into 2, but then you get a secondary dwelling on the back, so you get an additional rental income. So there's 3 in the pipeline that I can build today. I'm just working through finance at the moment, which planning allows for it, and so the councils are already allowed to do that. And then I have an additional 3 where I could physically build them in the backyard, but the council planning regulations don't allow it. So I'm going to work through top down, do the ones that I can do based off the planning first, and then work with council to try and get them to change the planning regulations to allow such secondary dwellings, because these days the demand for rental accommodation is we're in a rental crisis at the moment, so there's a lack of housing, and there needs to be more housing. So this is the strategy I'm going to use down the track to try and convince them to change the regs to allow me to build the secondary dwellings, because there's an additional 3 extra rental properties to say that they could be built for the 200 grand mark, which could then be rented out for 350, 400 a week. So it makes sense to try and build them and get them going. So anyway, thanks for listening. If you like this content, please subscribe or share to someone that you think would have a value of this. See you next time.